So in 5.3, we are going to learn a new way how to factor. So we're going to factor by grouping. So if you look at this first example here, they use A's and B's instead of numbers. But what we do here is we split it into two. So now we have two separate equations. We find out what we have in common in our first part. So we have A. So we're going to take out an A, and then we're just left with x plus y. And then we do the same thing in our second part. So we take out a B, and then we're just left with x plus y. And then we take our A and B and put them into their own parentheses, and we leave what was already in the parentheses there. It'll make so much more sense when we do examples. But the important thing here is that what's in these parentheses need to be the same. And then they just become 1 here. Okay, so let's go to the examples on the next. So the first thing we do is split it in half. What do we have in common in our first set? How many x's? 2. So we're going to take out an x squared, and what are we left with inside? X plus 3. Now, what do we have in common in our second set? 4. So we're going to take out a 4 in both of these. And what are we left with? X plus 3. So perfect. Our parentheses are the same. That's what we need. So we're going to take what we pulled out and put it into its own parentheses. So x squared plus 4. And then our second parentheses is what was the original parentheses here. So x plus 3. And that's it. Yes. Yeah, we'll do the next example. Did you get it? Okay. So the first thing we do is split it in half. Now in our first part, we need to find what we have in common. So what do we have in common in both of these terms? X squared. So when we pull out an x squared in these two terms, what are we left with? X plus 2. In our second set, what do we have in common? A 5. So we're going to pull out a 5, and what are we left with? X plus 2. Now we're going to take what we pulled out in both of them and make it into its own parentheses. So we have x squared plus 5 in one parentheses, and then we keep this as our second parentheses. Yes, this is supposed to be x plus 2.
If this example, if it's like 5x minus 10, is the sign?
So our second parentheses is x plus 2. So our final answer is x squared plus 5 times x plus 2. Yes, Brian? The 2 we got from here and here. So these two are the same, and it just becomes this one. Okay, so now we split it in half. In this one, we need to do one thing first because we still need this to be equal to 0. So how do we get this equal to 0? Minus 20 on both sides. So our new equation is going to be x cubed plus 4x minus 5x minus 20. And now we can split it in half. What can we take out of our first half? X squared. What are we left with? X plus 4. What can we take out of our second half? We can take out a 5, but we need what's in our parentheses to be x plus 4, so we're going to take out a negative 5. So we divide both of these by -5. So the first one, we're just left with x. What's -20 divided by -5? +4. Negative divided by a negative is a positive. Which is perfect because we need these two parentheses to be the same thing. So now we take what we pulled out and put it into its own parentheses. So we have x squared minus 5. And then we're left with our second parentheses is what was in common. So x plus 4. Okay, one last example. Ready? What do we need to do first here? Subtract the 2 from both sides. So we get x cubed plus x squared minus 2x minus 2. So now we split it in half. What can we take out of our first half?
X2 or X?
X2. What are we left with? So when we take out, if we have x squared and we take out an x squared, we're just left with 1. Because if we multiply this x squared back out, we get 3x. And we still need that 1 there to give us that x squared. And now what can we take out of the second half? -2, because we want our parentheses to be x plus 1. We want it to be the same. So what are we left with in our parentheses? So we divide -2 from both of these. What's -2 divided by -2? +1. So what's our answer going to be? Perfect. X squared minus 2 times x plus 1. Yes, this is part 2.